How much ad spend did you manage so far?
Plus 100 million.
Oh, wow.
Everyone was talking, ROI, particularly with digital being more measurable. But what other things aren't measurable? How good's your customer experience? How good is your follow up in terms of sales team?
All right, Kai. Thank you so much to being with me today. Um, I, I think the best way is to introduce yourself quickly, if you are keen to do that, in just maybe
Perfect.
10 seconds, and we will start with the question.
Perfect. So I am the owner of Czech Group, a media planning and buying agency based in Australia. And I have been operating since 2025, and I've been in the industry for 13 years.
Yeah, nice. 13 years. We have a lot of things to talk about now. That's pretty cool. So, can you tell me more about who you are without all your business card?
So who am I?
Yeah.
So I grew up in Melbourne. My dad's side of the family is Polish. My mum's side of the family is Australian. So I grew up in a very big European family in Melbourne. So lots of cousins, and I have an older sibling. I've lived on Norfolk Island since 2017. So my husband is originally from Norfolk, and we moved over here. I have a cat and a dog. I love going to the gym. I'm into photography. So outside of work, I would say I keep it pretty low key, outdoorsy, sort of nice casual, hobbies and activities rather than because work is so busy a lot of the time. I like to kind of keep things low key in my private life.
Yeah, I understand. And I'm very happy to having you today because as I will say I had creatives, not strategists, but creator on my side. I'm very happy that we can talk about all the ecosystem of ads, the media buying, the media strategist. And as you are a media strategist, can you exactly tell us what you do exactly?
Perfect. So it's always interesting when people ask what I do because it's very hard to explain it in an elevator pitch. But the easiest way I tend to explain it is that I advise clients where to invest their marketing budget. So throughout the years, being in the paid advertising space, it doesn't really matter what channel clients are investing from my perspective. It's about finding the right strategy across both paid and earned media if they're, running their own in-house brand pages and things. But it's really about finding the right paid media strategy for that client so that they're not spending money in tactics or advertising platforms that don't make sense for them. So it's really about ensuring that what I'm recommending from a client perspective is both kind of ethically sound and also makes the most sense for their business return on investment. And what I've seen over the years is that, and I know I'm going on a bit of a tangent, but over the years, a lot of these churn and burn agencies have kind of turned up that, promise the world. And I don't think that's how kind of you achieve a better result with clients in media planning and buying. I think longer term strategy and longer term working with clients always works best.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you. Um, we have I have some example also of a customer they already try with different agency, and sometimes it's a short-term contract, or it's like for 3 months or 6 months. And I agree, like more we are connected with the customer, more we know them, better we can help because like we have more an overview about their businesses. We know what they are able to do. Also, if they are comfortable in the camera. For me, for example, I know I can go more in the front, the lead, talk to the front of the camera, these kind of things. That depend on if a services they are selling product. And when there is like a new product or new services, we can jump because we already know all the ecosystem around. And that makes totally more sense. But can you give us an example about, I don't know, let's say a customer tomorrow is a real estate, or maybe do you have a niche, or who is your ideal customer?
So, since going out on my own, I don't have a specific niche yet, but I'm working at the moment in the luxury space with a luxury jewelry client, as well as luxury property development overseas in international markets. I would say I work best with clients that predominantly lead generation and predominantly brand building. So FMCG, fast moving consumer goods, have
Mhm.
been kind of a core category for me over the last decade. But I've worked in everything from kind of automotive, retail, FMCG, luxury, any, a variety of different categories. And each category is always slightly different in terms of, what they're trying to achieve. But
Yeah.
at the moment, I'm just really looking to work with small to medium tier brands, anywhere, any kind of spend levels, but it's really about clients that are wanting to invest longer term for an agency partner rather than short term.
Yeah. When you say long term is like 6 months minimum, 1 year?
Typically, I would actually say that 2 years plus is really
Oh,
what I aim for working with clients because I think it really takes you about 3 to 6 months to get a really good understanding of the brand. And then on top of that, once you get to that point, then you can start to implement changes such as creative testing and learning. I mean, you can do that in the first couple of months when you onboard a new client, but what I find is that rather than kind of drastically changing a lot of tactics and elements within their existing strategies, you figure out what's working well and then start to slowly introduce some test and learn over that period so you've got everything bedded down. So when you bring a new client on, often there's things like tracking that needs to be transitioned across. You've got accounts, depends on how nice the previous agency is in terms of transitioning. So realistically, 2 years plus is an ideal minimum time frame to be working with a client for them to also then make an assessment of the agency in itself, because anything
yeah.
less, and I don't feel it's a good representation for both parties.
Yeah, I agree. I agree, especially for you because like you have, I would say a lot of KPI to take in consideration also to understand, to do your audit. Are you starting with an audit when you start to work with a customer? What's your first step?
It depends on the client. So sometimes the brief will say they'll come to you with an existing brief to go to market. It could be a competitive brief. So sometimes it'll be a pitch situation. Sometimes you'll be introduced to the client to do a specific piece of project work, and then they're like working with you and they'll bring you on board to do other work. Sometimes I have one work through doing an audit and then kind of conducting or recommending a strategy off the back of that. Audits can be a bit difficult in terms of explaining or putting it back to the client in a polite way because you're kind of assessing the work they've already been doing.
Mhm.
And in some instances, you don't want to necessarily say, this is wrong and this is wrong. It's better to frame it in, okay, well, this has been working well and this is some opportunities and gaps rather than kind of auditing as you would like a financial audit. So it's slightly different.
Okay, that's pretty good. And so, in terms of ad spend, because it's a topic I really want to talk about, especially media buying. We hear a lot of things about media buying at the moment, and I really want to have also your opinion about AI on media buying because it's a huge topic now. And how much ad spend did you manage so far until now in your career?
Probably as a career total, it would be plus 100 million, but
Oh
in
wow!
term yes. So in terms of biggest client category, or sorry, biggest client I've worked on was the whole team was about 28 million, 30 million per year, and they're one of the top 6 global advertisers, and that was in the ANZ market, so Australia and New Zealand. The team was about 20 people, and that was predominantly across digital. So that client specifically has a big team and big sort of auditing and making sure that everything's running correctly. So that was a really good learning client for me. But in terms of total ad spend, that's kind of what everyone's interested in. They're always when I start to talk about ad spend figures in the industry at a dinner party or something, not private client stuff, but just generally industry level spends, People are always gobsmacked at how much the industry spends in Australia specifically as well. I can't give you the figure off the top of my head, but you know, each quarter we're talking hundreds of millions in terms of total ad spend. Um, across different categories.
And across Meta, YouTube, LinkedIn, or where are you
Yes,
comfortable today to act?
yeah. So in terms of ad spend, when we talk about that's probably more holistic level. The IAB, so the national body in Australia, has really good data around total ad spend in the industry.
Mhm.
But when we talk total ad spend, we're usually talking Australia, all channels, um, all client categories.
Okay.
So, say for example, this year compared to last year, retail's been quite down in terms of total ad spend, but automotive might be up. So they kind of do an assessment based on different um, advertiser categories, and they point out so you can kind of start to look at trends across the industry to understand what kind of clients are spending more versus what kind of clients are retracting their spend overall. So it's quite helpful when you're pitching for new business to understand that as well.
Yeah. I don't know if it's like a real important metrics, but I saw like most of the media buyer and digital strategists, they are using the ad spend as a headline, as a proof, of their job. And sometimes I'm just asking because, okay, 100 millions, it's a lot. It's a huge amount. It's pretty cool. When we are saying 100 millions of ad spend, in terms of ROI, and because we can, if someone is looking for a successful media strategist like you, we are looking also as a proof for the ad spend, but also ROI, or what kind of KPI are also important if someone is looking for creative strategists like you to be aware of, like there is the ad spends and there is this KPI is very
Yeah.
important to have a look.
So I think probably in my view about 10 years ago, everyone was talking, ROI, particularly with digital being more measurable, and it became much more at the forefront of marketers and business owners in terms of how they assessed overall effectiveness of advertising campaigns. But the challenge that I've always found is that there's also the attribution piece. So we need to understand what does your outdoor advertising contribute to that total return on ad spend? What other things aren't measurable? How good's your customer experience? How good is
Mm.
your follow up in terms of sales team? So there's a lot of variables that come into play when we're talking return on ad spend at a holistic level. So I often find that when working with clients, the best approach is to figure out their absolute kind of key metrics. So, say it's lead generation, not just total number of leads, but working with them really closely to go, okay, what's the quality of the leads that are coming through of that we're generating, and is that hitting your targets internally? So it's about having those conversations that you're kind of driving business uplift rather than saying, okay, well, our one ad on Meta drove a return of $5. It's really hard to then equate that
Mhm.
when they're also reporting back as a marketer or a brand manager internally to say that they've driven, this number of leads and it's only cost us, $5
Yeah.
or whatever. But it's easier to explain it in terms of the quality and quantity if we're talking about leads as an example.
Yeah, I agree. And there is also another metric for me is important, and that works on both of us. It's we are not doing the closing. So when we are working for service-based businesses, and my goal and your goal at least is to drive traffic to the landing page. But if the funnel is not optimized, they lose a lot of lead, but we cannot do anything about that. Or
Mm,
if the funnel is good, but they are not good in sales or they are not good in closing, we cannot do anything about that. So at least there is the ad spend, as you said, there is all the strategy we put on. But if at the end, at the really bottom of the funnel, people are not good at sales or not good in the funnel, that's the leads are dropping and the sales are dropping. So
I
that's why
had
it's very. Yeah, tell me.
I have recommended to clients before when we felt that there wasn't the right either the right sort of infrastructure in place or tracking or back-end setup where we knew that it would kind of be a waste of advertising dollars to drive through. I have told clients before, let's hold until things are in place or, they need new creative assets, new video. So the rate, at which we need new creative in today's market is a lot faster than it was 10 years ago. But
Mhm,
I don't hesitate to tell clients now when they need to either optimize something internally or fix their general whatever part of the funnel, if you like, just to make sure that, like you said, we're not just driving traffic for the sake of it, because that's not why I continue to do advertising, is to
yeah.
inflate figures. I enjoy the actual problem solving and driving a good result.
Yeah, same. I totally agree with you. Especially, I'm doing every time a small audit about, okay, what's happening on the social media, if they have organic content already, what's happening on LinkedIn, what's the ecosystem, marketing ecosystem around the brand or the business. Because if it's like launching ads for launching ads, but there is nothing around, especially like a product is different because when you want to sell a product, you can just click on the button, you are going on the product listing, you have all the information in it, maybe the testimonial, everything. And it's more like, okay, you can buy by impulsion. If it's like 50 bucks, 100 bucks, people
Mm,
can buy it like easily. But when you have someone is selling an offer to high ticket, or I don't know, 5K, you need to have an ecosystem around the ads also for that works as a synergy all together, all the job they are doing, like the organic content that can be the LinkedIn job, the YouTube video that can be everything around. They are working all together. And some people sometimes they just start a business and they just wants to launch ads, but there is nothing behind. It's just like maybe just one website, just one landing page. I'm not saying that that would not work, but like that can works better with a biggest ecosystem around more content and more, yeah, all the
definitely.
job you do, so all the strategy around.
And
Definitely.
what are clients asking for from a creative point of view from your side at the moment? What's the key formats or ad lengths, or what are they kind of coming to you with first?
Honestly, I have a different example. I don't have a specific niche also. I did like some cybersecurity company in the past, the last months. I can do like some catering company. I do some financial company. It's more service-based businesses. Yeah, I'm starting
Nice.
to do some product also, because I really like the creative part of copywriting and all the sales process. It's really exciting. But mainly I don't have a specific niche, and I have some customer they already have a good ecosystem, and they already have Google Ads running. They have a lot of visit on their website. They have a good funnel. They have four different landing page for four different services. So sometimes there is like something very square. They say like I just need like one creative for that, one creative for that, one creative for that. Most of the time, what I recommend is not just doing one creative for one services, because the goal is to test. So if we just make one creative with one hook, one content message,
Mm,
and one call to action, at least it's not a test. It's like we are just dropping that, and we are just, please, I want that works. So the goal for me is to create minimum at least 8 different scripts and making 8 different creatives with 8 different hook, 8 different message, and 8 different call to action. And we analyze the KPI for at least the first 4, 5, 6 months. And after, we are making four other creatives based on the analysis of the eighth one. And we are playing with like a Lego. We are taking the hook from the creative number 3, the messages from the creative number 5, and the call to action was performing the creative number 6. We are making a new one and we are testing it.
yeah, and I think that works effectively because the algorithms at the moment typically optimize to a couple of assets or test a few assets. So probably not, I wouldn't recommend 8 at one time, depending on your
Mm.
spend levels, but it helps in being able to rotate in different creatives as needed throughout the campaign so that you've got both that freshness of creative message, but you're also able to test what kind of message resonates the best against your targeting. So it gives the media buyer a lot more flexibility compared to, like you said, one asset. And it does happen from time to time where we prepare a really detailed media strategy. Over the years, it has happened where we've had really distinct audience segments, and the client comes back with one creative asset, and we kind of go, well, there's not going to be that much differentiation for the same creative message across three different sub segments of audiences. So
Mm.
it makes our job really difficult when there's not a lot of differentiation in terms of creative message.
Yeah, and that's good. Like we are start to talk about creatives because I have a important question also for me, but a lot of my customer asking me this question every time. Like there is this the rules at the moment we hear about on Meta having a 3-second hook and maximum 15-second creatives. What do you think about that? And do you think that works for every kind of businesses, or what's your opinion?
I think there's definitely no blanket rule to apply in terms of creative asset length. It really depends on the category. I mean, if you think about dishwashing liquid or dishwashing powder, do you really want to hear a 30-second to 40-second ad? Probably not, right? We know what the product is. So, or even if you're thinking about, say, an end of financial year sale, you really only need to hear end of financial year and sale and what the brand is and where to shop. So it really depends on what the end message is, but I usually recommend to clients to test different asset lengths. So you've got whether it's YouTube 6-second bumper ads, 15-second skippable, non-skip. You can run that across multiple formats. Video in and unto itself is kind of variable because if you're wanting to say across YouTube, you're trying to brand build, you want to try and buy non-skippable assets. So that means that we've got that forced view. Yes, it's not as good for the consumer, but overall it helps increase overall brand awareness and consideration. And that's sort of that longer term piece that if we're looking to brand build, non-skip is really crucial. Whereas if we're talking about sort of e-commerce and retail, we don't really mind if someone doesn't watch the whole ad. We just want to drive the sale.
Mm.
So you're more optimized towards general performance of the end result rather than longer term brand building. So I always like to approach it kind of what we were talking about before, what metrics actually matter for the end client. And then we can kind of define what video strategy works best. But in a long-winded way to answer that question about perfect ad length, I don't think there is a blanket rule approach. But I do think if you're running on TikTok, you need a 3-second, you really need to capture someone because there's so much content that people will just skip.
Yeah, I agree. I think there is also the 3-second hook, but I believe there is also the scroll stopping second. Like the first second when you grab the attention, first of all, you hook them after they are here. There is the retention, so you can give the message and you can guide them to take action. I totally believe in like TikTok or Instagram or Facebook. We really need to have it. But I have so much example about people who are running ads 30, 45 seconds, 1 minute, 1 minute 30, 2 minute, 2 minute 30, 3 minute, 4 minute, and
Mm,
that works when it's service-based businesses, not retail.
yes.
And especially like service-based, you need to give some information. Like in 15 seconds, it's very like you're not selling a book. I mean, you need to
No.
explain a minimum of pain point of benefits or who you are, what you are doing. And I have some example of some of my customer. They have feedback from agency, and they say like, well, yeah, we need. It's a service-based business. They say like, yeah, we need at least 15 seconds. We need one. So yeah, but what he wants to say in 15 seconds, honestly, it's too short. Like
Mm,
people need to understand who you are. I understand we can make. I prefer at least make a nice carousel for retargeting and brand awareness and giving some information there with a nice caption, than rather than a very short video of 15 seconds when the hook is done and
mm.
that's it. You know what I mean?
We over the years, in terms of at an industry level, I think one that probably changed that a lot was actually TikTok. So TikTok really became, and YouTube, but YouTube TrueView, it was still one of those situations where not a lot of people would sit through, you know, on YouTube for those longer content pieces in terms of ads. So after 30 seconds, you can keep watching or you can kind of skip through um, after the first couple of seconds. But it sort of people that have 2 3 minute ad videos, sometimes they do work depending on the category because, as you said, you need
Mm,
the context. And
yeah.
if it's really relevant targeting from the media buyer, then the end person will likely watch it or, continue watching. But TikTok shook up the total video ad length a number of years ago, probably like 2018, 19, when they started to, or people started to make longer content videos. So when I was working on a big FMCG brand, we started to test 15-second, 30-second, 45, 55-second assets across TikTok. And when we were using an influencer, 45, 50 seconds actually outperformed the really short videos. So for me, it really depends on the context and where it's appearing, but also the rules, as we kind of mentioned before, it doesn't really apply because I think now people are looking more for entertainment across video content rather than just being willing to sit through the ad. They're like, okay, this is entertaining. I'll keep watching. And if it's not entertaining, then I won't. So it's sort of, we're in more of an entertainment economy and attention, more so than we ever have been.
Yeah, I agree with the entertainment. And more the ad doesn't look an ad, better it is also on the social media. We can be polished, like having a nice ad, but it's more like in the pitch when you are talking. It's not about only the quality of the footage. It's more also like it's that looks like a TV ads. Like it's specific TV ads for me. That will not work on the social media. It's people are looking for something different,
Yeah,
as you say,
exactly.
entertainment. Yeah. And I'm interesting to have some anecdote from you. If I don't know, maybe one campaign went wrong one day, or like a customer came to you and say like, "Okay, I have a campaign, everything went wrong," and if you help them to flip everything, if you had a case one like that.
Look, there's not often in my career that something's gone wrong. Often the issue is usually a typo in a creative that's been supplied last minute, and something will kind of go live and it will have gone through 3 or 4 people, and nobody's picked up on a very clear spelling mistake for a brand. Those are usually the ones that slip through the cracks. But to be honest, that doesn't happen so much now in my business because I'm overseeing everything. But when you've got a big team, it can often be quite hard to make sure that those quality assurance checks are in place all the way through. I have over the years, many people have always said to me that when you tell them you work in media, they say, "Oh, yeah, my girlfriend used to work in media or still works in media, and she once set the lifetime campaign budget as the daily budget." So there's a lot of situations where that happens. They've spent the entire budget in one day or 2 days over the
Oh,
weekend, things like that. So that's the absolute worst of what you don't want to happen and why it's very important to have those checks and balances in place for ad spend. But that's probably the biggest risk, I guess, in our industry is overspending when you're spending someone else's money,
yeah.
that you have to treat it like your own because you are the steward of the marketing budget.
Yeah, I agree. And when you are working, as you say, for someone, there is a trust, like people trust you to say like, okay, there is a budget. Maybe I don't know, some like for you, when we talk about 100 million, that's mean like the wallet it's pretty big. So you have to take care about what you are doing. It's not just a wallet with 1,000. And so for small businesses, it's also a lot. Some people, it's like their budget for 1 month. They say like, I have 1,000. I'm starting. And I trust you. And if someone make a mistake like that, it can be annoying.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter as well, sort of coming back to that objective or amount that people are spending. Often I think I've never yet met a brand manager or a business owner or a marketer that said, "Yep, I have exactly the right budget of what I think I need to achieve my goal." So there's always room to kind of improve, whether that's media targeting or creative to help maximize the overall budget. And I think the challenge is sometimes more interesting for a buyer to have a smaller budget because it means you have a lower threshold for wastage in terms of targeting and making sure that you're really on the nail in terms of who you're trying to reach.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. And what's for you at the moment in the industry the biggest bullshit, I will say, that you can hear right now?
Uh, I think the biggest BS at the moment is the people you see on TikTok saying that they're, doing crazy amounts of revenue for clients. I think a lot of people inflate figures on social media because there's no real way to check. Even if
Mm,
people do a screenshot now of, like their e-commerce and things for Shopify, there's not really a way to kind of cross-check that to be truthful or not. So that's probably one that I often see and I go, "Oh, look, like I know what we were talking about before, to build a successful campaign with clients, it takes a lot of time." So people that propose they can come in and do it really quickly and turn around, hundreds of thousands in revenue, to me, that's BS because I've not yet seen even clients with massive budgets be able to do some of those results that
yeah.
they are talking about. So, yes, I get it. There's sometimes, anomalies in algorithms and that where they've figured out, I guess, a more effective way to target, but often I don't think they're really being truthful, is my gut feeling.
Yeah, and I don't know if you heard about this app. There is a software, it's creating fake dashboard. And you can
Mm.
create a fake dashboard for Shopify, for a lot of different apps. And so you can fake all the numbers, all the sales, everything. And I heard like some people are using this kind of things to film the screen, and on the screen is the fake dashboard for you. When they are filming, you see it's Shopify. You think it's right, it's the truth, but not.
I hadn't
It's
actually heard of that, but that makes a lot of sense. I mean, even in, whether you're looking at some of the low code apps now that are available, I mean, this is the risk with AI at the moment as part of it, particularly in our industry, but the working with people that are truthful, I think will become very important and very kind of critical in an age where everything can be kind of spoofed or you can kind of get the answers really quickly, but do you have the ability to actually follow through on the recommendations? Do you know what that means? How do you troubleshoot it when things go wrong? So those are the things that I think clients will be looking for longer term is understanding or working with people that are really honest because there's a lot of dishonest operators out at the moment and that's what I think is a challenge is that as an advertising person we always get a lot of skepticism and that's why I like to say to people longer term is better for me and for clients because less changeover less reteaching
Mhm.
running people through your brand. So longer, there's a reason that longer term relationships and agency are hard to find, but once you have them, they're usually in place for a long time.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, and this is also one of my topic actually. Like I'm really speaking every day about authenticity, also because it's one of the huge part today with AI, for example. I don't know when you jump on LinkedIn and area, you can feel like 90% of the posts are made by ChatGPT. There is like AI automation. They are sending you some email, but no one is, like everything. There is so
I got
much.
one today, like
Yeah.
this morning. I had someone comment on my post and they said, "Oh, it sounded legitimate." And then I messaged them. Well, they added me and then I messaged them and I said, "Oh, hey, just checking," because they were an AI. They have autonomous agents as part of their business offering. And I messaged
Ah.
them, and straight away they came back and said, "Oh, yeah, no, it's an actual person." And then I said, "Oh, your background's really interesting." I asked them a question. They had a degree in philosophy. I said, "Oh, how do you find your degree in philosophy relates to how you program in AI because of the ethics?" And they came back and it was almost like a cookie cutter response of the previous response.
Yeah.
And he said, "No, no, it's a real person, blah, blah, blah." And I went, "Oh, okay. So this is not actually a person."
Mm.
So I just left it. But case in point.
Yeah, that's happened every day, and there will be more and more. So that's why I think, as you said, a long-term relationship. I believe in that, and also it is part of authenticity and trust. And I feel, the- what do you think? Do you feel it's not? I will not say harder to build trust today, but compared to the past or now, there is so much AI and skepticism about this approach, and I would say the relationship with people in businesses. How do you feel this approach for you, like to build this trust with the customer?
I think one that has come up for me and who I'm working with now is that a lot of those relationships are from 10 years ago, 5 years ago.
Mm,
That trust that there's no way you could really build that on a quick email or a quick outreach from AI. So I feel that that's probably one of the biggest challenges at the moment is people are very skeptical. So any cold outreach at the moment, I feel is very low chance of coming off. Whereas outreach that has come from either a personal connection or a referral tends to work a lot more effectively in terms of closing a client relationship or starting a new project. So that's where I'm finding that I'm having the most success. And I think that's, you think about your own inbox, and we're not big companies or big senior marketing managers, but you can imagine that they would be getting a lot of cold outreach, particularly automated. So I just don't know that that is the best approach at the moment. I think a personal touch is actually what people want. And my next strategy is going to be getting on the phone and actually calling people again when I've got time to start pitching for some work.
yeah, I agree. I agree. And how you see your, I will see your role as a media strategist evolving in the next 3 years with this AI who is evolving also on the side.
So I think I saw something this morning from Microsoft. It's saying that, 74, 75% of office workers are using AI in their everyday at a kind of corporate level. I think the challenge will be that people will be able to quickly get an answer for something enough to cause problems, but not know kind of. Let me rephrase it. So everyone can be an expert now. However, that doesn't translate when it comes to things I find like strategy, troubleshooting, deep understanding of platforms. So there's a real kind of nuance and strength in having come from a media background or having real deep technical and platform knowledge that some of the challenges, for example, for media buyers over the next couple of years will be working with autonomous agents or working with AI systems that automatically reject ads but might not be, meeting an ad policy as an example.
Yeah.
So we're almost going backwards where we're now talking to just chatbots again. And, they were a fad 10 years ago, but now it's come back, obviously, with AI. But it means that things like help desks, frequently asked questions, it's hard to actually find a real person. So you have to be really good at understanding how to navigate all of those elements to run campaigns for clients. And I think as a buyer, our role won't be in so much the implementation side of things anymore, but more overseeing the holistic strategy, where we can still optimize. It will still need a human in the loop to be
Mhm.
able to kind of make sense of what we're running. So I think there'll always be a role for that, but I think we'll start to see a reduction in the total number of roles advertised in the industry.
Yeah, I agree, but there is also something that AI for me cannot fake today is the emotion. And the emotion is the biggest part in our job, because people are buying with emotion. And not only buying, but when you watch a video, you're responsive with your own emotion. And so having just AI on the back to do all the stuff, until AI can have emotion, we can talk about this topic in the next 3 years. But at the moment, for me, it's like the limitation, and especially as you when you said like you need human touch. For me, human touch is also emotion touch to understand the customer, to go deeper, to ask the right question, to understand maybe he has belief, like that's limit his own businesses to grow because he's afraid of being in the front of the camera because of what, because maybe he's afraid about the judgment. All this kind of topic is part also on our job, and I think AI cannot understand and go deeper in this topic at the moment.
Mm. I think it's one of the challenges that, emotion, context, deep understanding, and kind of bringing that kind of nuance to both creative and strategy is something that still isn't quite there from an AI perspective. But I think we will eventually see that that will get better. But
Mm,
like you said, I think if we look at the ethics of it again, that it needs to be programmed in a way that it isn't kind of talking to emotion or human emotions if it's not actually feeling those emotions. So it's I think there will always be a role for humans, I hope, in the
mhm,
industry. And I say I hope because, we never know. But
yeah.
there's definitely, like you said, the personal touch, we're working with people where we might have sort of automations, but we're still day to day working with people who are paying the bills. So we need to kind of be able to still have those really deep conversations, which I don't think any of the platforms can do in terms of our roles at the moment.
Yeah, I agree. And by the way, did you hear the news about Google search? It's now taking over more by AI. That's mean AI is going deep on each website, taking all the information, the trust, and it's the lead is with AI now. And the relevance of your position, and when a customer asks a question, have a request on the research, AI is going very deep, and it's not only now based on Google Ads. Of course, there is like you are buying word, keyword, and there is a bet and everything, but it's also much more. They call that the EETA, so it's experience, trust. I forgot. Sorry, I have to take to check. But
No, that's
I
okay.
read that yesterday. It's very, very, very interesting because that's open little bit more,
Mm,
compared to people who have a lot of backlink and a lot of big SEO, a lot of blog, and just to have keyword, 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 keyword.
mm. I think
And
that, I mean, that's one of the areas that is changing quite drastically, and it already has. Some clients are noticing the drop a lot more compared to other. It depends on what category you're in, but
mm,
there's different reports you can run in GA4 if you use Google Analytics, but you can kind of see how much traffic referral you're getting running a different report in GA4 from Copilot, Gemini, Claude, all of the different platforms where people are coming from. So one of my clients at the moment, it might only be like 5% of their total traffic, but again, different categories, different
yep,
thresholds. I think with the AI overviews, that will probably have a bigger impact on paid and SEO in the next 6 months. And I think that's also part of the reason why that we haven't seen it yet, but I think that each of the platforms is striving to be number one because they will find a way to monetize it. They're private companies. They want to monetize in whatever way they can, and that might mean through advertising. So I think there will be an option for that. So you might get your AI response first and the ads down the bottom,
yep.
but it just depends on what their strategy is longer term. I don't
Mm.
think they know the answer either. That's
No,
why
no, yeah.
I don't think there's a real
That's
indicator
evolving
yet.
very fast and very quick. Every day there is a news about what's happening in the industry. And I saw you are also, because we spoke about AI. There is a lot of good things with AI. Also, I'm using it too. And I saw on your offered services you have a part with AI. Can you give me more information about what is AI testing and activation for media?
So for me, it's more about using the AI. So I haven't built any autonomous agents or anything yet. I have been playing around with that, but it kind of comes back to this piece around how are we actually using AI within the business? So how are we using it from so using customer data, making sure that it's privacy secure, then looking at trends, how we can then use that for paid advertising, implementing that across data segmentation, targeting. So it's more for me about how we use that from a targeting perspective because all the platforms at the moment offer kind of an AI level of integration, but it's about using that at the kind of audience level. So I can help clients sort of understand what they need at an advertising level or what kind of platforms and tools would make the most sense
Mm,
based on what their longer term strategy is. So that's sort of an area that's still very new in the industry. But with my deep level of experience in the media platforms and industry, I'm able to also advise clients what type of, whether that's response to questions, whether it's um, implementing data tools to kind of streamline how they collect data, being data compliant, making sure that they're adhering to privacy laws. So there's different elements within that, but there's not one specific service that I'm offering in related to AI at the moment.
okay, cool. And I know I will ask a question again that's depend about the company and the services and the product and everything. But is it for you at the moment a platform with like overrated and a one with underrated between Meta, Pinterest, Google, YouTube, all the platform we know?
I think probably the most overrated is still Facebook. So it's definitely the overall user experience has declined. And I mean, Meta has still retained, they acquired WhatsApp and they've acquired, Instagram many years ago. And I think Instagram is still why they haven't seen such a decline in the last couple of years because millennials are still using Instagram quite heavily, but in other formats like Reels compared to what it used to be, in feed. So for me, the longer term play of Meta will be interesting because I don't see the current kind of virtual reality that Mark Zuckerberg is trying to go for. It's I just can't see that at the moment being heavily adopted quickly, and I think they're looking for quick growth or maintaining market share. And then in terms of probably one of the most underrated platforms, I would say Pinterest because Pinterest has really good video formats. The targeting is really related to keywords and interest, which we're seeing a bit of a reduction across some of the platforms in terms of how we can actually target at that interest level. So Pinterest is probably one that's underrated for me, both in a static and a video format level. Um,
Okay.
yeah, and then I mean, completely unrelated, but the AI platforms, they've all got their pros and cons depending on what you're trying to use them for as well.
Mm. And about because it's not the first time I hear about Pinterest, honestly. And is Pinterest interesting to sell product, or when you have a services also? What kind of people are going on Pinterest? When I say what kind of, like the
I would say more advertisers probably in retail, beauty, luxury categories compared to others, but there's product adjacency. So people looking at home renovations might be served to ad for house paint. So you can
Mm,
kind of contextually, it's really relevant because people are really in that mindset of wanting to improve their lives and change something. So it kind of aligns with that audience behavior. But I think that Pinterest is the way they've not tried to grow too quickly is why they've sort of becoming an I think they're underrated in terms of the user experience because they didn't try and grow too quickly. They've grown quite organically, and they have a really big Gen Z base now and millennials. So that's one I think to watch in the future. Is that I think Pinterest is growing at kind of a sustainable level.
okay, interesting, interesting. Thank you for your answer. And what about you now? If there is one brand in the world you dream to work for, or to dream to work with, sorry, what would be the brand?
I would love to work on any of the brands in LVMH because I love the luxury space. I know There's so many under that stable. Tiffany would be my number 1. I know it's
Okay.
just kind of cliche, but I love jewelry and I love kind of you know, if you follow me on TikTok or you ever see any of my TikToks, I wear a lot of bling and jewelry and, you know, personal expression. So that's why that would be my pick. How about you?
You know what? I was ready to ask the question, but to answer honestly, me, I love the automobile industry. So I think working for brand like a Porsche for me is would be a good goal,
Yeah,
honestly.
I think that would be
Yeah,
so fun. And think you
yeah,
I used to work on a few luxury brands in Melbourne, and you do get to go to some fun events, you know, F1,
yeah. Right.
celebrity ambassadors.
Yeah, Formula One is also like another goal, you know, just to do like maybe a videography for the event or just something, but being involved one day in the Formula One industry would be very, very nice, especially here in Australia because it's Albert Park. It's beautiful. Honestly, what they are building for the event for the day is amazing.
Yeah,
It's
I
very,
think
very nice.
they do it very well.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And so, if you weren't in the media industry now, there was something you will be doing right now, or when you was young, did you think about growing in this industry? What was your dream job?
Um, when I first You know, when I was quite young, I actually kind of wanted to go into maybe vet science, and then I quite enjoyed psychology in my later years of high school. And I think
Mm,
that's why I really enjoy advertising because a lot of what we do day to day is really about understanding psychology, audience behavior, user experience. So it brings together a lot in terms of different elements. And then there's the human element of dealing with people day to day. So you're still in sort of a human centric role. And you're also, you know, if you're very logical and have kind of an interest in finance as well, it's a really good industry. But I
mm,
think what I always say to people is if you're kind of inquisitive and you're okay dealing with numbers and you love human psychology, then paid advertising is such a fascinating space because everything we do in a way, you know, any business, any product, how do you find out about it? It's advertising.
mhm.
So for me, it's like it is the crux of everything we know and do and see because, you know, how do you find out about these favorite products that we're talking about? Advertising. How do
Mhm.
they build the brand? So I find that is what keeps me going in the industry is that you're working on some of these really, you know, legacy brands or new brands and there's always something different.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Like the advertising world is very like it's very fascinating because some people like me, what I love about advertising is it's not only what's happening, what you are watching, it's like what you are hearing, what you can see, but behind the messages, you know, there is lot of as you said psychology, and
Mm,
it's very, very, very interesting to understand the NLP, how does it works, also how you can different model of language to give the information to the subconscious, you know, and not like you are not you cannot understand now that you are like you are captivating and taking different information on your subconscious, but that's the very interesting part of the advertising also.
definitely. And I mean, even when we think about video advertising and creating the videos, you need to understand what you want the end customer to be
Mhm,
thinking or feeling or doing. So
mhm.
you really need to have an understanding of psychology too. You probably don't think about it maybe that way, but you really need to get into the mindset of the person that you're trying to create the video for.
Yeah,
So,
and at the end it's emotion.
mm,
You know, like what's the emotion he wants to give, so your message will help you, but if you give some kind of emotion, that's the main goal. That's my opinion too, but that's the main goal. If I give just one specific emotion that I want to give in my message to the customer or the followers, the viewers, and they take it like that, I win. This is just what I want to do, like in the main of the video. At least if they take action or not, because same like advertising, it's interesting. Some people think just you see one ads and people will take action. No, like that takes some time. What's for you one of the metrics? Because we hear a lot about people need to see 7 times your ads before taking action. Is it something? It's a rules for you? Do you have kind of KPI like that?
There's not really a rule for frequency, so, you know, some categories, it might be 7 to 12. Some categories, it might be more. Longer decision time, higher value purchases could be longer, could be 6 months. And it doesn't
Mhm,
matter about total, uh, impressions even. Sometimes, you know, one of the scary things is when you go into some of the platforms and look, it depends on if you have frequency capping in place. But if you don't and you're just about driving sales, sometimes, it might take 22 impressions to drive a sale. Sometimes it might take 30. Over my career, I've seen that if you don't have frequency capping in place, particularly for retail and e-commerce and performance, that you can kind of massively flood people with impressions. And yes, it will probably drive a sale, but often it means a lot of media budget is wasted as well. But
mm,
there's not there's not really a hard and fast rule for frequency, but, you know, if you're in brand building categories, you wanna aim for a higher quality impression and still a strong frequency. It might be like 5 to 10 per month or thereabouts, but it really depends on what your end goal is because, some people would say, "I don't care as long as I get a sale." And then in that case, the frequency will be very high, but you don't mind because it's all based on the revenue figure.
yeah. Yeah, I agree, and, sometimes like the you spoke about the qualified lead or the qualified people, and it's very, very, very important to talk about that quickly because some people think sometimes advertising doesn't work. No, that's not true. It's like maybe you creative didn't work because the message was not good. Maybe you attract not qualified people, so you said like, "Yeah, okay, that doesn't work for me, I stopped." No, it's just it was a test. We need to understand why that didn't work, what we can do better. Let's check your message, let's check your creative, and we can see why you have this kind of lead, why maybe you didn't have any lead. And as you said, there is what we spoke about at the beginning, all the ecosystem around. So sometimes they can see 1, 2, 3, 4 times they are checking on the side. Oh, there is a lot of video YouTube, so they would check the video YouTube, they would check the Instagram, they would check the TikTok, and that's help to take action and take decision. But sometimes they need, as you said, when it's a high ticket offer, they need more time. So they can see like the ads 20 time. And there I think there is no specific rules, honestly. It's different for everyone. It's very hard to say, yeah, it's like that.
Mm,
7 time minimum. I don't really believe in that because it's different for everyone. If sometimes some people already have a nice ecosystem that can be faster, sometimes people know, so that takes longer. They
mm.
build a nice and the funnel, maybe the funnel is not good as we say. So there is so much metrics, so much things around that we have to take in consideration to understand this value. Um, so I have a last question for you.
Fire away.
No, it's just a normal question. Like, is someone who listen to podcast today is interested to become media buyer or media strategic as you do? What would be the best advice you can give? And also, before starting, do we need a certification? What can be the first step to becoming media strategist?
The good thing is, I guess, these days is you don't need sort of a formal qualification. I think a solid foundation helps in marketing, but definitely looking at industry resources or kind of training courses that are available online as a starting point is always good because you'll either love it and you'll figure out that you want to go through with the course content because a lot of what we do is quite rigid in ways like we follow a process, brief, target audience, strategy, implementation, review, optimize. So if you struggle to really follow through with that process or follow kind of through with a course, then you're probably not going to like media planning and buying or media strategy. The other element I would look at is definitely understanding how the platforms work across all the LLMs. I think that will be really important in the future. Understanding different types of advertising is one that will become. I mean, it's becoming more fragmented, but voice advertising is going to become really interesting and different. So instead of text-based ads, a lot of us are just gonna be asking verbally to the chat models, for products and services. So
Mm.
voice advertising is going to become very key for selling in the future. So something like that I find also is an area that I think people should look at. But there's not, marketing's so varied, but I think if you're interested in psychology is what I always say that you probably would do okay in an advertising role.
Maybe I have a last question. Sorry, I will put
Final
this question.
question.
I will edit. Yeah, it's the last final question. But as a creative strategist, again, that's depend about the niche and what you are selling and everything. But do you think it's interesting to put your energy in different platform, like minimum 4 platform: TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube? Or do you recommend someone is a service-based businesses like, okay, focus on just one, minimum two? Just random question that came on my mind because there is so much things.
I think it depends on what you're trying to achieve. So if you're really looking for high value clients, I don't necessarily think that, I don't believe I'm going to get many really high value or really high spending clients via TikTok, which
Mm,
comes down to that brand trust. I think that would come over a longer time. Whereas with something like LinkedIn, you've got more of your history and your career. Not a lot of people are posting video content on LinkedIn at the moment. So, from their own accounts, there's not really a set methodology for which platform you want to focus on. YouTube's great for engaging people that want to watch really long content.
mm.
So, it just depends on what you think will drive the best results for you and getting that deeper brand understanding. It's better to have 10 people that become clients that watch your YouTube video all the way through rather than 5,000 people that just watch you on TikTok and nothing ever comes of it. But I enjoy the different platforms because you get different feedback.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much. Thanks for your time today, Kyle.
Thanks, Jeff.
Where people, I will put all the link between on the description, but if you want to drive people to take action with you, or they want to contact you, they want to follow you, tell me more, like what's the best way to
I'm
contact you?
probably most active on TikTok. So check Group Media on TikTok. I'll put the link in the video, I'll send it through. Otherwise, via my website, checkgroup.com.au is the best just for general inquiries. But if you're more interested in advertising industry type content, then definitely follow me on TikTok or LinkedIn. But I'm most active on TikTok because I find it easiest to edit my videos there.
Yeah, okay, cool, perfect. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Connor.
Kyle, and yeah, thanks for all your time and all your advice. That was great. Thank you.
Perfect. I had fun.
Yeah, me too.